A very good evening, everyone. We'll be starting the session by 6 o'clock sharp. Thanks for your patience. A very good evening, everyone. Greetings from Unikaksha, and it is so happy to connect with every one of you. This is Manoj Kumar, the Director of Program Management at Unikaksha, and in today's session, we'll be discussing about what are the ways and how are not getting disturbed, and hopefully, the session will go ahead without any hindrances. So again, to introduce who we are an edtech company, a skill enablement company where we try to find the right skills, train the right skills for the students who want to get placed in the core industry, and we have been doing it successfully for almost a year now, and our parent company has been a software company, so we know how this process works, how this industry works, and how the current students are, what the curriculum is, and how this skill gap is preventing them from getting a job. So once again, I request everyone to be kept on mute. It will be Sayed. I'm muting you. Yeah, thank you. Right. So in this process, we have reached a stage where the companies have started visiting colleges, and many top companies have have started to conduct this national level qualifier tests. Am I right? So Wipro NLTH is there, InfyTQ is there, and TCS has four different stages for four different roles: TCS Ninja, Digital, Code Vita, and so on. So, like this, every national level qualifier test has its own process, and clearing that, requires some standard set of exercises, topics to be studied, to be practiced, and we thought of bringing up a free Guru class, a free workshop for assisting the students in that regard. So we have been conducting a series of workshops for training the students on upcoming technologies in the previous months, and this series is going to assist the students who are aiming to get placed in a top company, a top tier company. And that is what that is why we have defined these classes in this placement season. Some of you might have been writing their examinations currently, and in no time you will be getting ready for your placements. And we thought this session would be greatly helpful to you. And we have with us Ms. Shreya Kurana. She is our Python expert, and she is going to teach you, she is going to train you, and she is going to code along with you in solving the top questions, or the top topics which have been repeatedly asked, which have been emphasized in this process of recruitment, TCS recruitment. And she is going to teach you some tips and tricks and the ways of getting placed into TCS in an easier way. She is going to assist you. She is going to walk you through the entire process, and hope this session will be helpful to you. Shreya, can you please start?
Yes, sir. So, good evening, all. Welcome to this session. So, let's first see what exactly is TCS National Qualifier Test. So TCS National Qualifier Test is conducted by TCS every quarter. That means 4 times in a year. And why it is important? It will help to assess a candidate's competencies and skills, which includes competence on the core cognitive processes, which are especially required for entry-level jobs. It will test your industry-specific knowledge and insights and specialization on skills which are required to perform various job roles. And what's interesting is that this NQT is acknowledged by many companies apart from TCS. There are many brands nowadays which are going to recognize this score. If you are able to get an NQT score, then you are eligible to appear for many companies apart from TCS, like Cognizant, Tech Mahindra, and so many companies are there. You can see the job list portal on TCS ION. So there you can apply for any of the jobs once you qualify for this test. And the score remains valid for 2 years. So this test is held online as well as in physical centers at TCS ION authorized centers. So why you should appear for this test? So if you are a graduate or if you are going to graduate soon, then this test will really help you out. Why? Because it will increase your employability quotient. It will help you to build a competitive edge over other participants. It is recognized by several corporates. It's a benchmark. It acts like a benchmark which will help several corporates to recognize you. And what's more, that you can appear as many times as you want for this test. There is no limit to the number of attempts. And it is designed as per the latest industry requirements. It is designed by subject matter experts and it is aligned according to the industry expectations. And it's like a standard benchmark test for assessing the general ability and industry specific skills. So if you are able to qualify this, then you stand above a lot of other people and you are eligible to appear in so many companies. You get to know what is happening right now and how you need to prepare yourself, what skills you need to have to get into the industry right now. So we are trying to help you out to qualify this TCS NQT. So who all can apply? All undergraduate, postgraduate, and diploma students in pre-final or final years, all freshers with less than 2 years of experience, and you can be from any specialization or discipline. So this is the pattern for TCS NQT. You have 5 sections. So the first section consists of verbal ability, reasoning ability, and numerical ability. Basically, these 5 can be divided into 2. So the first consists of verbal, reasoning, and numeric ability. Then the last 2 sections consist of the programming section. So we will be mainly focusing on the programming section in this session. So we have programming logic and the coding section. So in the programming logic, there will be logical questions in which you will be having things like MCQs and tell if there is any error or tell the output. And in the coding section, you will have to write the code for the given question. So let's start working. So I'll be taking up questions and I'll be solving them. And I think somebody is writing on the screen. Please, can you remove this? So I'll be working on PyCharm. What the thing is that you have an option these days to either solve the question in C, C++, Java, Perl, or Python. So you have these
Your
5
screen
options.
is not shared yet.
Yes, sir. I'm sharing the screen. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
So we can work in either of these 5 languages, whichever you are competent in. So I'll be working in Python. So let's start. I'll be writing the questions and solving them. So you have to write a program to find if the given word is a keyword or not. So I hope that you all know what are keywords in a language, right? There are some fixed words in the language which are used for specific purposes and which you can't declare as variable names. So we are here to, we need to tell that whether a given keyword is a keyword or not. So what questions I'll be taking have been appeared previously in the TCS NQT programming section. We are taking previous year questions only. Okay. So in Python, what we can do is we can create a list of all the keywords. So I'm creating a list of the keywords, the popular ones. Of course, all might not be possible to take, but as much as we can. So all the keywords should be in the quotations. Then we take the word as the input from the user. And we check whether this input word occurs in the list of the keywords. Else, we print that it's not. So we have taken a list of keywords because we want to find whether the given input is a keyword or not. And we compare the input word, the word which has been entered by the user, with all the words in the list. So if it is appearing in the list, then we can print that this word is a keyword. Else, we say that it's not a keyword. So it's important to know that whether a word is keyword or not, because if it is, then we cannot use it as the variable name. So we can run it. So print is a keyword. Whereas if we take any other, then it is not a keyword. So let's go to the next question. Any one of you want to say something? Otherwise, you can move. So this is, I think, not a very difficult question. So in the next question, we have a small counter at the mall, and there is a jar which is full of candies. So normally you can expect such scenario based questions. What happens is that the questions itself, if you see, I'll write the question and it will seem like a giant, but actually the solution is very simple. So that's the trick that they normally play, that the question seems something really incomprehensible, but actually it is a very simple question if you just try to understand it figuratively. So just try to read along with me that there is a jar full of candies for sale at a mall counter, and it has some capacity N, how many candies it can have. That is the maximum. Number of candies it can have. Now, at any time, at any point of time, the jar will have m number of candies such that m is less than equals to n, right? Obviously, because n is the maximum number of candies. So anytime m, that is the number of candies, will be less than equals to m. So the candies are served in such a way that the jar never remains empty. So anytime that the candies are served, so it is refilled. The jar is being refilled. As whenever k candies are left, then the jar gets refilled. So it may look like a big story, something so difficult, but actually it is not. So we want to write a code to implement this scenario. So input, here our input is how many candies are ordered at a particular time. Candies ordered at a point of time by the customer. And also you need to know what is the maximum number, that is n. So n and m both we should know, that what is the number of candies entered and how many candies present and what is the maximum number. And output is number of candies sold candies, and available candies. So sold candies would be whatever is ordered at any point, whatever is ordered, and available candies would be that how much was there, that is n, minus the sold candies. So at any point, we need to tell, at any instance of time, we just need to tell that what is the scenario after so many candies are being sold. So we take the solution as Maximum number I'm taking as 10. Maximum number of candies that can be present. And K, that is the number of candies being ordered, is being entered by the user. Number of candies that are being ordered by the user, we are taking the input into K. So if K equals 0, then we can just say that it's invalid, because how can you order 0 candies? Else, and here you can also tell that available candies is n. Because 0 candies are ordered, so the same number is available. Else, we will tell that the number of candies sold. So we have to check what the output is needed. Don't get confused with the question. Just check what the input is and what the output is. That's the trick, because the question is a little complicated, that the jar gets refilled. The candies are served in such a way that the jar is never empty. The jar is never empty depends on the person who is handling. So we will add the number of candies that is required to fill up the jar. But for us, what we need as the input and output is just the candies ordered at a particular point of time and the maximum number of candies. That's all that we need. And output, we will just have to tell how many candies are sold and the available candies. So we have to judge as per the input and output that what is the requirement of the question. Question may sound little tricky and incomprehensible, but just check the input and output. So based on the output requirement, we can tell here that the number of candies that is sold is K, because that was the number ordered, and the available. So now we have some candies which are being sold out. So available candies would be less than n. It will be n minus K, because K has been, number of candies sold was K, and the total number was n. So the remaining one becomes n minus K. I hope this is clear. So if you see the code, it's not that difficult to do. So I'll just comment out this thing and we will then run. Please don't write over the screen. You can also take one more condition, that K, for the invalid input, that K is greater than n, because we can't order the number of candies greater than the maximum number.
Line number 8 requires a bracket to be closed, Shreya.
Oops. So if we order more than the maximum number of candies, it's showing invalid input. And if we order something less, then we get to know what are the number of candies being sold and the number available. So let's move to the next question. So you have a string S, which consists of star and hash. So there is a string which consists of these characters, star and hash. And our task is to find whether it's a valid string or not. And how it becomes a valid string is by checking if the number of star and hash is equal. So valid string has equal number of star and hash. So here the input will be a string. Input will be the string which consists of the characters. It can have other characters also, but we need to check whether that string is valid or not based on the number of stars and hashes. So if the number of stars and hashes is equal, then the string becomes a valid string. So our output will tell that whether the number of stars and if the number of stars and hashes is equal. If it is, then it's a valid string. So let's take any string as the input by the user. Let me take the number of stars as A and the number of hashes as B. So you will have to remember that A is the number of stars and B is the number of hashes that we are going to count from the string. So initially we will be taking A and B both as 0. Okay, so I'm just writing here a comment that A is the number of stars and B is the number of hash. So now we have to loop over the string S and check for each character that whether the character is a star or a hash. So we can use the for loop and iterate over this string S and check whether the character I is a star or a hash. So the for loop will iterate over the string and it will check each character. it will verify each character. It will check if I equals star, if the character which is being encountered by the for loop in the string is a star, then we will increase the number, the variable count of star. So the variable for checking the number of star is a. So we will increase a by 1. Else if I is a hash character, then we will increase the value, the count of b, because b holds the count value of the number of hashes. So we will increase b by 1. Then we will have to check how many stars and hashes are there. So we can either print out and tell number of star is a and number of hash is b. So if a minus b, so let's take another variable, it will be easy. C equals to a minus b. So if C equals 0, that means a minus b equals to 0, which means a and b are equal, then we can print that the string is valid. So I hope the logic is clear, that we are looping over the string. We are checking each character of the string, whether it's a star or it's a hash. And if it is a star or a hash, then we are increasing the count of star or hash respectively. And finally, we are checking the difference between the two numbers, the two counts, and printing that the string is valid or not based on that. So I'm entering a string which has neither of these two, star or hash, and still the string is valid because both of them have the same count, that is 0. Now let's enter another string which will have both of these characters. The number of stars is 2, number of hashes is 2, hence the string becomes valid. So this is also not a very difficult question. Now let's move to the next one. So you have an integer array. Please don't write over the screen. Integer array of size n, which we can implement as a list here in Python. Please don't write over the screen, whoever is this. Please, whoever has written on the screen can just remove this. So you have an integer array of size n, and the task here is to find the count of those elements which are greater than all the previous elements. All the previous elements from that array. So suppose you have this array. Seven, 4, 2, 8, and 9. So we have to find the number of elements which are greater than the previous element. So the first element would obviously be there because there is no element prior to it. So it will be included in the count of such elements. And further, we have to check that which all elements are greater than the previous element. Like here, 4 is less than the previous element, so 4 will not be included. Then 2 is also less than the previous element, so 2 will not be included. 8 will be included because 8 is greater than all the previous elements. And again, 9 is also greater than all the previous elements. So 9 will also be included. So our output from this array would be 7, 8, and 9. So now we have to figure out how to solve this question. We need to start by checking each of the elements and we have to take a variable maximum. I request that whoever has made this drawing on the screen, please erase it. Otherwise, the code will not be visible to all. Okay, so I'm continuing if nobody wants to remove. So yes, so I hope that the question is clear, that we have an
Shreya, can you
Yes.
please stop sharing the screen and reshare?
Okay. Okay, yes. Yes, so coming back to the question. So from this integer array, we have to find all the elements which are greater than the previous elements present in that array. So in this particular array, we have 7, 8, and 9. 7 is the first one, so it will be included. And 8 and 9 are greater than all the previous elements. So let's continue. Let's start the coding part. So what we are going to do here is that this is the input and the output will tell the number. So I will write the input and output as well. So input tells the maximum size or the maximum number of elements and also each of the elements would be there. So input will consist of 7, 4, 2, 8, 9. Let's take the same array for reference. And output would be 3. So 3, why 3? Because number of elements greater than the prior elements. So this should be our input and output format. that we need to take the maximum number of elements and we need to take the elements as the input from the user. So let's take the maximum number of elements. So let me ask the maximum number of elements. For our case, it will be 5. And let's take the count, the variable count, which will count the elements greater than the previous elements. So we are initializing the count variable. And let's also take a max variable. So here I'm taking the max variable as 0 again, and we will be checking each of the entered elements with this maximum variable. So I'm taking it as 0 for reference. It could be any negative number also. So while n is not equals to 0, we will take the input from the user. And we will check if A is greater than max. If A is greater than max, then what we will do is that we will assign A to max. So now the value inside maximum would be equal to A. And right now A is the first element, right? Right now we are just try to visualize the first iteration. In the first iteration, whatever right now max is 0 when in the first iteration. So obviously A will be greater than max because our A is 7. We are considering this case only, that this is our this is the given input and output in the question. So for this case, 7 would be now, max would be now 7. So max would be now 7, and at the same time, what we will do, we will increase the count value by 1. And then we will decrease the value of n. So this will continue. This loop will continue till n is greater than 0, or it has not reached 0, and at the end we will get the count, the final count of those elements. So every time you see that right now max will be 7 in the first case. In the next iteration our A will be 4 and max will be 7. So 4 is not greater than 7. So max still remains 7 and count will also not increase, but it will move to the next iteration. Then again in the third iteration, A will be assigned to as 2, and 2 is not greater than max because max is still 7 from the first iteration. So again, count will not be increased and count will remain 1 only. In the fourth iteration, when A is 8, at that time A becomes greater than max, which was 7 from the first iteration. Then max becomes 8 and count gets increased to 2. In the last iteration, A is 9 and now 9 is greater than max, which had become 8 in the previous iteration. So every time we are checking our current input with the maximum which has been achieved yet. The maximum number which we have encountered yet was 7. And every time that we are entering a new variable, a new number, that is checked with that maximum value. If it is greater than that maximum value on line number 11, then that value is assigned to the max variable and count is incremented. If it is less than the maximum value, then this part is skipped and the next variable value is taken. So every time it is compared with all the maximum from the previous values. If it is greater from with respect to the maximum from all the prior values, then that becomes the next maximum value. So that was our problem to be solved.
Line number 10. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So maximum number we are taking as 5 and we will be entering the numbers, elements one by one. 7, 4, 2, 8 and 9. So we're getting the output as 3, which was the desired output. So I hope that this code is clear.
So with that note, Shreya, I would request you to please hold on and hand over the session to Nivedita.
Hey guys, am I audible? You can put it in the comment box. All right, great. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nivedita here. I'm head of placements at UniKaksha. So congratulations actually on being a part of this Guru class. On a Saturday evening, you could be doing a lot of things, right? But you actually chose to learn something new today, which itself provides or proves that you want to make it really big in the IT industry. I might actually sound like an unskippable YouTube ad today, but I'll ensure that each second of yours here is worthwhile. I don't think I'll take more than 10 minutes. So have you ever guessed what could be the chances of you bagging an interview opportunity at a top MNC or a product-based company? Any guesses? Okay, let me make your life simple. Forget about being shortlisted for a role. Your chance of getting an interview opportunity is hardly about 12% for every 100 applicants that apply for a technical job, provided that you're technically trained. Okay, so gone are the days where actually company would hire you and train the freshers on the technology. Okay, most of the product-based companies here in India or abroad, they need a ready resource who are actually technically trained, and for that, they don't mind paying you extra bucks. So when I say extra bucks, it's more than the industry average salary, what you get in return. Okay. So on an average, there are close to 15,000 plus full stack developer jobs which gets produced in India every month. So if I translate that to number of months in a year, that's about 12 months into 15,000 jobs. That's a lot. I think it's more than 75 to 80,000 jobs. Out of those 80,000 jobs, the number of jobs that's actually available for freshers is about 30 to 40% of it. That means every month there are 5,000 new jobs available for a freshly trained full stack developer out there in India with a starting salary of 5 lakh rupees and it can go up to 30 lakh rupees. It sounds exciting, at least for me, but now your mind might be actually boggling with a lot of questions, right? Am I the right fit for this? I graduated like 3 years ago. How do I go about it? Or you might be in a different domain altogether. How can I actually start over? Or maybe I don't even know the basics of coding, man. How do I even handle it, right? What if I'm not able to attend the classes during a weekday? Is there a weekend, batch? Or what if I don't actually get a job, after completing the course? Or will I actually get a hike on my current CTC? Do I have to travel anywhere, to pursue this course? And, I don't even come from an engineering, background to get into this. Or my grades haven't been great, am I still eligible for this? Well, the good news is, irrespective of whatever your background, age, or whatever the domain you are into, if you are a graduate, then you have all the necessary qualifications for you to, get into a job at, through UniKaksha. Why UniKaksha? Why not anything else? Probably we are the only company in India who provide you offer letters much before you're actually, trained to become a full stack developer. So that itself proves our mettle that how much we are capable in training you much before you bag a job. And the cherry on the cake is we give you offer letter beforehand, which means you start on day 0, you get into a batch, and boom, you have your offer letter in hand. So your job is confirmed. Okay. So all our signature programs, they come with a job guarantee. In case if you fail to get a job within 6 months from the last day of your batch completion, despite following all the guidelines like 75% attendance and clearing all your assessments and things like that, despite that, if you don't get a job, complete money back guarantee, no questions asked. In fact, those scenarios very rare because our placement record is about 86%. So every 100 students we take into our batch, 86% of the people get placed with a starting salary of, the least being the 4 lakh and the highest being 21 lakh rupees so far. So just in case if the timings don't match for you, we also offer, weekday and weekend batches. You can enroll for any of the batches, whichever actually suits you the most. And the interesting part is that how does it actually feel if the Kohli himself comes and teaches you the batting? That sounds really nice to me, at least. So all our trainers, come with a minimum industry experience of at least 10 years. So they actually know how to even break down a complex thing and make your learning exciting and fun, right? And all our classes are taught live, just the way how you're experiencing right now. It's going to be much, fun than whatever you're experiencing right now. So in case if you miss any of the live classes, you always have access to the recording classes as well as doubt clearing sessions during the live class or post the class also. So just think for a moment, how does it actually feel working at those companies whose apps you actually use on a day-to-day basis? For example, I use Paytm, right, for making any of the payments. Then you place an order on Amazon or you book an Uber, to commute, or you order your groceries on Big Basket. You order your food on, Zomato, Swiggy. You chat with your friends on Instagram. We've got it, all of it covered. So we teach you the step-by-step process and how to crack the interview on those top product-based, companies. So all our programs are, fairly priced. You're just a step away, from transforming your career at actually a price of a visa, literally a price of a visa, because we have flexible installment options up to 36 months. In fact, we have interest-free, EMI options as well to make your learning hassle-free. So have you ever wondered, what kind of an investment reaps the highest returns in India, just in case? Or probably a fixed deposit in a bank, just in case. If you plan to have an FD, that fetches about 5%, per annum. If you plan to invest in a real estate, that fetches you about 20 to 30% of the returns for every half a decade. That's about every 5 years you've got to wait to fetch such a kind of a return. And if you want to invest in mutual funds, you hear a lot of jingles on mutual funds. Well, that fetches about 12 to 13% of returns per annum. In case if you plan to invest on your girlfriend or boyfriend, actually that attracts more taxes because both kharcha padta hai. But actually investing in yourself fetches you a lifetime of returns where your decision dwells right now. If you're planning to invest onto your full stack development, that will help you, make a fortune. And we do have special scholarships that would be awarded to the students who do on-spot registrations today on a special consideration. So think for a while, after all this yarn and things like that, right? On an average, your parents would have actually spent about 10 to 20 lakh rupees right from your KG and up to your PG. Have you ever earned that money back ever since you started working or ever since you plan to start a career? I'm pretty sure at least most of you here in the room haven't earned it back. Or just in case if I'm wrong, correct me. More than happy to health or assets on the same. So unfortunately, the education system in India, has been all about studying the facts and figures, right? Like who led the Battle of Panipat, or what does photosynthesis involve, or mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. All this Pythagoras theorem, L Hospital's rule, which none of the IT companies are going to ask or implement in their day-to-day projects, right? So the irony here is 20 years of education takes all your money away, whereas 3 months of full stack development course gives you a life, career, and a fortune. So think about it. So Manoj will float the form right now. You'll be given a Google form. Kindly fill it if you're interested. We have special offers going on for students who have secured a great percentage during their degree as well as club 2. So if you plan to do one, we have an upcoming batch starting by July 2nd week. I hope to see you soon there. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Nivedita. And over to you, Shreya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
So let's get back to solving our TCS NQT previous year questions. So I hope that till now you could understand all that we have been doing. So the next question gives you a scenario of a parking lot. A mall, most of the malls have parking lots in the basement or multi-level parking areas. So such a parking lot is there, and it has a number of rows and a number of columns. It has been designed in such a way that there is a fixed number of rows and a fixed number of columns. So it has R into C. So R being the number of rows and C being the number of columns. So you can imagine a 2 by 2 matrix. So R number of rows, C number of columns, and those many parking spaces is there. So R into C number of parking spaces is available in the parking lot area. Now the question says that each parking space will be either full or empty, right? That is the only, these are the only two possibilities. It can either be full. Full means some vehicle is there, and empty means that no vehicle is there. So if it is full, then you assign 1 to it. 1 is being assigned to that position. And if it is empty, then 0 is assigned to that position. So the status means either a 0 or a 1, the status. So I'm writing the exact question that had appeared in the national qualifier test. Status of a parking space is represented as the element of the matrix. And what is our task? Now our task is to find that row. The task is to find that row which has the max number of parking spaces full. So you can imagine a 2 by 2 matrix, okay? Number of rows and number of columns. For convenience, let's imagine, let's just visualize that 3 number of rows and 3 number of columns. So let the row number of rows be 3 and the number of columns is also 3. So the parking lot would look like something like this, means 0, 1, 0. Suppose a car is there in the middle, in the first row. So this is the first row and it has 3 columns. Then the next row, suppose a car is there in the first position, then it's empty. and suppose in the end it is full. So this can be a particular instance of the parking lot, that the first position of the first row, it's empty. The second one has a vehicle, the last one is empty. Then in the second row, the first one has a vehicle, the last two are empty. The last row has all the spaces full. So we are representing that instance of the parking lot as a 2x2 matrix, as a 3x3 matrix. Sorry, not a 2x2, it's a 3x3 matrix, a 2D matrix, 2D 3x3 matrix, 3 rows and 3 columns. So this is a 3x3 matrix which represents our parking space. So here the input which was given in the question is the value of rows, the value of R and C, right? Value of R and C, it was given to be 3 and 3. And also the input consists of this matrix. So this the numbers is represented as the elements. So it's represented as a collective list. So firstly, the value of R and C is 3, 3 and 3. Okay. And secondly, if we go row wise, each row, the elements of each row are represented like this. The elements of the array and our output would be 3. 3, why 3? Because the last row has the maximum number of spaces full. So the second input gives you how the parking space, the particular instance of the parking space that is being given to you to check, and the number, the elements are row wise, means first 3 elements are from the first row, the next 3 are from the next row, and the last 3 are from the last row, because we know that each row has 3 columns. So let's take R and C. Let's take R and C as small, so it will be easy. Number of rows. C. Number of columns. Now what we are going to do is we are going to take a variable max again, and we are going to initialize that as 0. So what this max will do is it will check the maximum parking spaces which are full, the maximum number of vehicles for each row. For each row, the maximum number of spaces would be compared with this max. And we also take a variable as sum, which will find the sum of the elements present in each row. So this sum would be checked against max. The sum consists of, like suppose in the first row, okay, this is actually 1, 1, 0 according to our question. 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1, 1. So this is our exact question given to us. And for this question, we need to find which row has the maximum parking spaces full. So what we are going to do is for each row, we are going to find the sum. Sum means how many spaces are full. So for this, it will be 2, 1, next one 2, next one 3. So again, the same logic which we have applied in the previous question, it will be applied over here. How? That we will calculate the sum. We will find the sum for each row. And that we will check against max. We will check against max. So every time initially max is 0, right? Initially max is 0. Then it will check the sum for each row. For each row, it will check whether the sum is greater than max or not. So first time it will be greater than 0. So then max becomes 1 in the first instance. In the next instance, sum is 2. Sum is 2 and max is 1. So then sum is assigned to max. So max becomes 2. In the last instance, sum is 3 and max is 2. So this sum is checked against max and it is greater than max. So now max becomes 3. So every time the sum from each row is checked against this variable max, and whichever value turns out to be maximum, that value is assigned to max. So we take these two variables and we start. We loop over. We start the loop. We need to take two loops. We need to have a nested loop because the first loop will be for each row. For each row. Okay, for each row, the first loop is there. Then for the next row, for the values inside each row, we are going to take another loop for j in range C. So C is a number of column. So we are going to check for every element in the row. And we are going to add the elements of that particular row. So what we are going to do here is that we need to enter the elements of each row in this loop and we need to add them to sum. So one way is that we can directly add and input the sum. Let's separate it. Let's take a variable val and let's enter the element for each position, 0 or 1. And let's add this to sum. Now, if sum is greater than m, so till here we have found out the sum. Till line number 21, we have found out the sum for each row, for each particular row. We take the element, we add it to sum till the column is complete. So 3 columns in each row. So till the 3 columns, for each column, we are going to enter the element 0 or 1 and we are going to add that element to sum. Now, if sum is greater than max, then max becomes sum. Sorry, sum becomes max, means the sum is assigned to max now. Okay, here we also need to take another variable. We need to take another variable which will tell which row is going to have the max number of spaces. So we can take it as x. So both sum and x, 0, 0. So if the sum is greater than max, then we assign sum to max and we increase the value of x. So after every row is complete, we again assign 0 to sum. Because the previous row will have some value of sum, but we need to check for each particular row what is the sum. So that's why we need to assign 0 back to sum. Sum should be 0 again. And finally, we will print the value of x. That is that particular row which is going to have the maximum number of parking spaces full. So let's enter the number of rows as 3, number of columns as 3. So let's enter the elements as per this thing. So let's enter 0 first, 1 and 0. Then 1, 1 and 0. Then 1, 1 and 1. So we see that the output becomes 3. And if we change our input a bit, let's take the same 3 by 3 matrix. Let's change the elements. Let's make the first row as full, and let's change for the last 2 rows. So you see, now the first row was full. I entered 1, 1, 1. And then for the remaining 2 rows, I entered 0, 1, 1 and 0, 1, 0. So the first row had the maximum number of elements. So we are getting the count as the value of x as 1, because x gets incremented only when the sum which is being found for each particular row is greater than max. Otherwise, x will remain the same. So in this case, only in the first instance, in the first iteration, x will be incremented by 1, because in the first row, sum will be greater than max. So max becomes 3. Every time for the every other next row, sum will not be greater than max. Sum will be 2 in the second iteration and 1 in the last iteration. So x will remain 1 only. It will not be incremented in the further iterations. So I hope this is clear. Let's move to the next question. I hope you all are not tired by doing so much programming today. So the next question is based on the Caesar cipher. It's a little tricky, but for those who know a little bit about cryptography, it is quite interesting question. So a Caesar cipher is a type of substitution cipher. So during the times of Julius Caesar, it was started like whenever some message had to be sent, so it was encrypted, right? Right now also over the internet, messages and everything have to be encrypted so that they could be saved from cyber crimes. So this practice was started long ago, and during the ancient times of Julius Caesar, this particular cipher was introduced. That is why the name became Caesar cipher. And how it worked was that each alphabet was replaced by another alphabet, and how it is replaced, I will just explain in the plain text. So plain text is that message which had to be sent from the sender to the receiver, or the message to be encrypted. So that is the message to be encrypted. So what is done to each alphabet in the plain text or the message to be encrypted is that is shifted by a number of places down the alphabet. So for instance, there will be some key, like suppose it's 3. So for the given key, suppose the plain text, the message which has to be encrypted is ABC, right? So ABC is the message which I want to send to somebody, but I don't want a third person to get to know that what I am sending. So I will encrypt that and I will send a key also. I will send a key. So this is obviously very easy to decode, but this is how it was done. And this is, it was popular, but it's not definitely so effective. But anyhow, the thing was that how it is being done, that is that each alphabet is shifted by a number of places down the alphabet. So if we have A and if the key is 3, then you shifted 3 alphabets down. Means A will be D, B would be E, and C would be F. So A, B, C, D, the third one. Like that, the encryption is done. Now, so it will be done like this, but suppose it's XYZ. Suppose it is XYZ. So how it will be shifted now, because nothing after XYZ, right? So we have to rotate it back to the beginning of the alphabet. So X would become A, Y would become B, and Z would become C. So the logic here brings in the concept of modulus, that we need to do it modulus 26. 26 alphabets are there, 26 letters in the alphabet are there. So every time you have to check what is the number. So here we are going to take the Unicode code. We are going to take the Unicode, and like suppose for the uppercase, it starts with 65. 65 is the upper, 65 is the code for capital A. So we will check what letter we are encountering, and we will check the key, and based on the key we will change the Unicode, and then from the Unicode we will get back our character. So that's how we will do this. So let me write the question first complete, that we should know the key. So this was just to explain to you. So both parties should know the key. So that the sender may encrypt and receiver may decrypt it. So we have to design this. So our goal is to design this Caesar cipher. So we have to write a function. We have to write, the goal is to write a function to implement Caesar cipher. So in this case, we will have some input string. Input will be the input string. Okay, the input is the input string, and the output will be this. The input will be the string to be encrypted, and output is going to be the encrypted message. Okay, so let's start. We just need to define the function. We need to write the function only. So we write the function Caesar in which we will be taking the text, which is the input, and we will be taking the key. So we will be taking two parameters, the text and the key. So we will be taking an empty string result, and whatever encryption we are able to do, we are going to add this result. Now we need to check. We need to check for each character in the input text. So we loop over, we need to traverse the input text. So for I in range, so range till the length of the text, till the end of the text. So we will take the character as the ith character. And for each character, now we have to do the encryption part. So firstly, we will do for both uppercase and lowercase characters in the string. So if char dot is upper, means if the character is an uppercase letter, then so what we will do, let's just see step by step. What we are going to do is we are going to first find the Unicode of this character. So that is done with this function ORD. So ORD finds the Unicode of this character. So firstly, we are going to find this. Okay. But the thing is, like I told you, that we have to accommodate all the cases, right? We need to accommodate all the cases. Now, in cases that we have some letters towards the end of the alphabet, like X, Y, Z, in that case, we need to rotate back to the beginning of the alphabet. So we are going to do that, as I told you, with the help of modulus 26. So we need to find the Unicode and we need to do it modulus 26. So like suppose X, Y, Z. So let's take Z. So the Unicode for Z, it's not 26, but just take for the time being, let's assume that it's 26. So 26 modulus 26, that becomes 0. And our key is suppose 3. So 0 plus 3. So that becomes C. And that is what we want. That is what we want, because we are rotating 3 times. We are shifting by 3. We are shifting by 3 down the alphabet. So X will be shifted to A, Y to B, and Z to C. And here we are getting, I just showed for Z. If you check for Y, suppose you check for Y. So Y, let the code be 25, because we are taking from 1 to 26. The letters of the alphabet. So Y would come at position 25. So 25 modulus 26 would be 25, but that's why what we do is we subtract also. So I will show here that how we are going to do it for a general scenario where we can have something towards the end of the alphabet also. So first, because the Unicode is not like this, 26, 25. The Unicode starts from 65 in the case of uppercase characters and 97 in the case of lowercase character. So for the uppercase character, what we need to do is we need to subtract whatever is the Unicode character from 65 And then we need to add the key. And we will do the whole thing as, I'll just write this again. So let me just write it because somehow my enter is not working. So I'll just write the whole thing first and then I'll explain. Just see step by step how the things are working. So inside the bracket, let's go inside the bracket. First, we are finding a Unicode, right? First, we are finding the Unicode and we are shifting it down the alphabet by 3. That's what we wanted to do, right? So suppose it's A. Suppose it's A. So Unicode becomes 65. Key is 3 for us. 65 plus 3, that is 68. Minus 65, that is 3. Modulus 26, that is 3 again. Plus 65, that is 68. So inside we have 68. Now the CHR will convert the Unicode back to the character itself. So 68, the character for 68 is capital D. Now capital D gets added to this empty string result. So for each character, this encryption will be done inside here and it will be added to this string. So each character will be added to the empty string and we will get the encrypted string. So this is for when we have uppercase characters. So, and in case we have lowercase characters, so encrypting lowercase characters. So we check if it is lowercase. And we do the same thing, but instead of 65, now we are going to do with 97. So result plus equals to CHR So I hope the inside logic is clear. It's the same here we are doing, but instead of 65, we are doing with 97. So again, if it's a lowercase character, suppose it's small a, then we check the Unicode for small a, that is 97 plus key, that is 3. Here becomes 100 minus 97 becomes 3. Modulus 26. 3 modulus 26 is 3 plus 97 again becomes 100. So 100 and the 100 is now converted back to character with this method CHR, function CHR, and the character corresponding to 100 is now lowercase d. Now we will return the result. After this loop, we can return the result. So you can add by yourself. This could be a question for you to complete, that you can add whether it's a digit, check if char dot is digit. You can check if char is a space character. So if it's a space character, well, I think that we can do. We can add a space character. Let's add a space character as well, because normally any string would have a space, if not a digit, but let's add a space So if the character is a space, then what we are going to do is we are just going to add a space to our result. Just add a space to the result because space is not encrypted otherwise. And then you are going to return your result at the end of the loop. So let's take the input string, enter the message to be encrypted, and key, let's take the key. Enter the key. Now let's call the function Caesar and send the text as well as the key. So let's check. So let's enter a simple message to see if our cipher is working or not. Let's take the key as 1. So you see it's giving you as B, C, D. So A becomes B, B becomes C, C becomes D. Let's enter another message. Let's enter XYZ because that's where we may have a loophole. Yes, but it's coming to be correct. X becomes Y, Y becomes Z, and Z becomes A. So this was an interesting question. I hope it was clear to all.
Thank you, Shreya, for that. I'll quickly share a poll with everyone to understand, whether the session was useful. I request everyone to answer the poll so that we can quickly continue the session. Shreya, a few participants have raised their queries on the chat
Okay.
box. So until the others are answering the poll, you can go through the questions, their queries and clear them before proceeding further.
Okay. Yes. Sir. Okay, so first question is we basically what you did is made an array of reserved words in the language. Yes, yes. I made an array of reserved keywords in the language and checking if the input word is contained in the array or not.
So I request the remaining participants to quickly answer the poll so that we can continue.
Yes, you are most likely to have the input and output. Yeah, that particular question with star and hashes. In that case, the question was such that we have to check was star and hash only. It may have other characters, it may not have. But it becomes valid only if the number of stars and hashes is equal. Explain the result plus equals to CHR part. Yes, what we are doing is for this you have to understand it step by step. That what we are doing, just see the right hand side first from the CHR. Forget about the result plus equals to. Forget about that. Just see what we are doing inside. Let's go step by step. Firstly, we are converting the character to its Unicode, corresponding Unicode, right? For the corresponding Unicode, we have to now change as per the key. So inside that logic is being implemented, that how the key is added to the Unicode. But the thing is that because the number of letters in the alphabet is 26, but the Unicode starts from 65 or 97 in case of lowercase, uppercase, whatever. So in such cases, we first find the difference. We find the difference between 65 and that 26. We remove 65 so that it becomes from 1 to 26. Okay, if you subtract 65 from, let's say the alphabet Unicode starts from 65, right? 65 to 65 plus 26. Now, if you subtract 65 from all these numbers, it will become 1 to 26, right? And that makes things more easy for us. Although we are adding, if you see at the end, again, we are adding 65 again, because that gives the actual Unicode. But for the time being, we will check with respect to the letters in the alphabet, which is easy for us to understand in terms of 1 to 26. So we transform the code from 65 to 1 to 26. And then correspondingly, we will find that what should be the Unicode character after the key is being added. So after the key is being added, then we check what is the Unicode character inside. And that we convert back to character with the help of CHR. After we converted back to the encrypted character, we added to the result. Result was the empty string. We added back to result, right? And so on. We will keep on doing for all the characters present in the message, which is to be encrypted. So little bit more mathematical it's here, but try to understand what the logic is.
Thank you, Shreya, and thanks the participants for filling in the poll. You can continue, Shreya.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the next question now. So there is a fully automated vending machine. You have a fully automated vending machine. Which will dispense your cup on just press of a button. Which dispenses on just a button press. So it has some range of products. It has some range of products, like it has some range of coffees. So we have espresso, we have cappuccino. So lot of varieties are there. You have plain tea. You have Assam tea. You have ginger tea, lemon tea, green tea, masala tea. And then you have variety of soups. So let's take these for instance, although the question had a lot of these, but because we are running short of time, so let's just try to understand the logic. So we need to write a program to take input for the main menu. So the main menu will tell whether it's a coffee, tea, or it's a soup. And the sub menu will tell what is inside, means the further subcategory. And give the corresponding beverage. So based on the number which is being entered for the menu and sub menu, we will get the corresponding beverage from the automated vending machine. So for the main menu, it was given that we enter the first letter for the main menu. Okay, so C for coffee, T for tea, S for soup, like that. And then for the sub menu, you will be telling the number. So like espresso would have espresso would have 0 and cappuccino would have 1, latte would have 2, like that. Or you can start with 1, 2, 3. So this is the menu which would be displayed to the user, right? The user will be able to see on the display screen that this is the menu and this is the sub menu. Based on that, the user will enter the corresponding input, like for the menu, the first letter, and for the sub menu, and the number for sub menu. So let's start with the implementation part. So what we are going to do is we are going to create nested list of menus, and so in the nested list, we are going to, each list will have the list of, so first list would be the list of coffees. Then the next list would have the list of teas. So I'm just copying from here and let's include this much only because just need to understand the logic. And the last list for the soups. So this is our menu and the sub menu. Now we are going to take the input from the user. So we are going to take the input for the menu as M. So I'm not writing the full thing because we have less time. Now if M is equals to C or M is equals to T or M is equals to S, then our machine will work. So we will check for each. Now if M is equals to C, if it is C, then what we are going to do is we are going to take the sub menu. Now the sub menu for C means coffee. That is the first list. It has 3 elements there. So it can only be 3. Means it can only have maximum of 0, 1 or 2. Range to 3. Then we will print that welcome and enjoy your. So now the particular drink will be obtained from the first sub list, nested list from this list, because the menu is now C. So C means coffee, and which coffee we need will depend on the sub menu. So we will take it like this. Menu 0, 0, why? Because the first sublist, and inside for the second one we are going to take the sub menu -1. Why -1? Because the user might enter, we are assuming that user will enter as 1, 2, 3. So if you want to enter as 0, 1, 2, then you may not do -1. Okay, so same way you can continue for T and S. What we are going to do is we can just check this program here. taking a bit time to run. Okay, meanwhile, what I will do is I will ask some questions from you all, which are asked in the programming logic section. So there are two sections as we discussed in the programming part. One is the programming logic and the other one is the coding section. So we were mainly focusing on the coding section till now. Next, I wanted to do some questions from the programming logic as well. So I will write some questions and I hope to get some answers from you in the chat. So let's start. I'll write it in the chat itself.
I think M is waiting for an input.
Okay, yes, sir. Right. Yes. Okay, so yes, M is C and then sub menu also we need to enter. Okay, now we get it. So I entered M as C because right now I just took one option. And then for the sub menu, I entered 2. So 2 at the second position in the sub menu for C, that is the coffee list, we have cappuccino and we get here as the output. So I hope that this was clear. And then I was writing the question for you all on the chat. So this is one of the questions which had appeared in the programming logic. It is from C++. So you have to tell which of the following operators is overloaded for object cout. So one is this operator, right shift. Second is left shift. Okay, 2, correct. Then Okay, so all of you are saying 2. That's correct. Okay, what makes a class abstract? How do you make a class as abstract? Private. So anyone else? Okay, I will give some. Others would like to try? Okay, yes, this is correct. So, sir, should we end there or shall we continue? Hiding the background implementation. Yes, right. So you can make a class abstract by making at least one member function, one method in the class as pure virtual function. And in Java, yes, you can use the abstract keyword. Correct. Okay, so you have a stack in which the elements are like this. Okay, these are the elements. And you have to tell the output after applying pop operation till the stack is empty. This went to one person. How TAT? TAT, how do you get TAT? So T, A, and P. So T is at the bottom of the stack, A is above T, and P is at the top of the stack. Just imagine like that. Output, not 0 means you are applying pop operation to the stack. So you have to tell what is the output, what are the characters that you will be getting from the pop. First in, last out. First in, last out. Is stack first in, last out? Just try to remember what a stack is. It's like a stack of clothes. So the thing that went in first will come out last. Last in, first out. Yes. Yes, Hari is correct. No, not correct, not correct. See, try to understand. T is the first element that you have pushed into the stack. Then you have pushed A, then you have pushed P. So T is at the bottom of the stack. A is on the top of T and P is on the top of A. Now if you do pop, then you will pop out P first, then A, and then T. So PAT is the output, right? Those who have given PAT, that is the correct output. Okay, another question. The worst case in linear search algorithm. What is the worst case in linear search algorithm? When the element, I will give the options also, element is present in the beginning, second element is at the end, third element is in the middle, last element is maximum. Okay, good. Some have already answered. Others would like to try? Element at the end. Most of you are saying element at the end. Anyone would like to say something else? Okay, so binary search tree algorithm can be used in the worst case. Yes, but we are right now we are talking about the worst case of linear search. So that will be when the element is present at the end. So in that case, it has to traverse through all the elements of the array. Okay, so it's 8. Sir, should we continue or shall we stop here?
We can open for Q&A session, if any, for 2 minutes. And, we'll close Shreya. So I believe the session was helpful, and Shreya has helped you understand the important topics, how to think for solving those problems, and hope the session was useful. And we are opening the session for a Q&A session. If you have any queries, you feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. So I assume there are no questions to be asked. Wish you all the best for your preparations and getting placed in TCS. Until the next session, it's bye from Manoj Kumar and Shreya, and obviously UniKaksha. Thank you, everyone.